Hi, Ken.
Hi, Afseen.
So our IT department will make you the host for this meeting. Okay.
Cool. Okay.
And it is recording. We started already our recording. So I hope we can just 10:50.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
আসসালামু ভাইয়া, ওই কেন জয়েন করছে তো
কেন এখন হোস্ট, আপনি কো হোস্ট? হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ
ঠিক আছে, রেকর্ডিং চলতেছে, এটা অফ না করলে হবে।
জি জি
ঠিক আছে।
আমরা কি রেকর্ডিং করতে পারবো?
না, এটা অফিশিয়ালি করা হবে, পরে দিয়ে দেওয়া হবে সবাইকে। হ্যাঁ, আপনারা পাবেন পরে।
স্যার আমরা সবাইকে রেকর্ডিংটা দিয়ে দিব, আমরা ট্রেনিং শেষ করার পর আমরা সবাইকে এটার লিংকটা দিয়ে দিব।
এবং আই লাইক টু স্পেশালি থ্যাংক ইউ আফসিন বাতেন, বিকজ আপনি গতকালে আমাকে ফোন দিয়ে স্মরণ না করালে আমি কিন্তু মিস করতাম এটা।
আপনি আমি থাকতে মিস করবেন, আপনি নাকি মিস করবেন?
আমি খুবই আপনার কাছে এর জন্য কৃতজ্ঞ। আমি তো রাত্রে খুবই চিন্তা করলাম যে এটা যদি আমি মিস করে ফেলতাম তাহলে তো আমি অপেক্ষা করছিলাম, কিন্তু সামহাও আমি মিস হলে আপনি যে ফোন দিয়ে ইয়ে করছেন, রিয়েলি আমি অ্যাপ্রিশিয়েট এবং অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
স্যার আপনি মিস করলে আবার আমরা আরেকটা করতাম, প্রবলেম ছিল না, তো মিস করার কোনো সুযোগ নেই স্যার।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, তারপর ফার্স্ট ইয়েতে এটা ইয়ে হয়, ভালো হয়। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ
স্যার। আপনি আবার সব প্রোগ্রামই সিরিয়াস, ওনার কোনো প্রোগ্রামই আনসাকসেসফুল হয় না, সব সাকসেসফুল হয়। আপনি আবার যেখানে প্রোগ্রাম সেখানে সফল মাস্ট।
অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ আইসিবি আমাদের জন্য এতটুকু করাতে, আমরা অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you, sir. Okay, can we wait for 10 more minutes? I think it's yet to, many participants are yet to participate.
Yes, no problem. Let me know when you guys are ready to start.
Okay, thank you.
আপনি মানে টোটাল কতজন পার্টিসিপেন্ট?
আজকে কোনো লিমিটেশন নাই, ফার্ম থেকে তো 54টা সিএ ফার্মস জয়েন করার কথা, তো ওনাদের ফার্মের অনেকের স্টুডেন্ট আছে, তো এখনো তো পার্টিসিপেন্ট সবাই আসেনি।
তো আমাদের এখানে আইডির ক্যাপাসিটি হচ্ছে 300। হ্যাঁ,
300 বেশি জয়েন করতে পারবে না?
না,
আশা করি 300 এর বেশি হবে না খুব সম্ভবত। অবশ্য অনেক ফার্মার কি প্রজেক্টর দিয়ে ওনাদের লিংক করে দিচ্ছে, তো সবাই আর কি একসাথে একটা লিংকে একাধিকবার জয়েন করবে না।
আমার মনে হয় যখন ট্রেনিং শুরু হবে সবাইকে মিউট করে দিন, ম্যান্ডেটরি মিউট, যখন কথা বলবে আনমিউট করে দিবেন।
জি ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
পার্টিসিপেন্ট বেশি তো সমস্যা হইতে পারে।
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Caseware Working Papers and Audit International training. My name is Ken, and I'll be taking everybody through the training for the next week. So, good to meet everyone. I think I've met some of you. We have emailed each other. So hopefully over the next few days, we can cover Caseware Working Papers and the Audit International Work Papers, and get you started on this journey for electronic auditing. Now, we do have a very large group in here today. I have a couple of requests. Because of the size of the group, I am worried about the bandwidth, the internet usage of this whole session. Can I please make a request for everybody to just stop sharing your video, if that's possible? So if you can just stop sharing your video, and also keep yourself on mute during this session. There will be Q&A session throughout the course, but instead of actually unmuting yourself and asking the question, could you please put that through in the chat box? And throughout this session today, I will have pauses where we can go through those questions. Absin will review those questions and collect them for me, and then we can cover them off during those breaks, or after this session, at the end of everything, we can go through your questions as well. Hopefully, I'm not going to cover as much as we can in the short time that we have. The other thing I've also mentioned in the chat, for those of you who are not aware, we are recording this session. So at the end of the day, we will share the recording with you. Give us a few hours, because a large recording like this takes time to process through Zoom. Once that is set up, we will send you the recording, and you can rewatch this session over and over again. Okay, so let's kick off now. I will start by sharing my screen here, so everyone should be able to see my screen. Okay. Once again, just a reminder, if you're in this session, please mute yourself, and if possible, you can also turn off your video, your camera, so we can keep the bandwidth as low as possible, so everyone gets the best quality of video and audio coming through. Just confirming everybody can see my screen here. I have my desktop open. I'm going to go through some housekeeping first, just to show you what we have shared with you so far, and then we'll talk a little bit about setting up Caseware, installing Caseware. Okay. First of all, the folder that you see here, I have an ICAB training folder. Now, this folder is going to be used not just today, but into the future after this. If you want to play with any Caseware functionalities, you can use the resources that's been provided in this folder. So within this folder, I'm going to go through the two most important items first. Number one, we have the setup file here. This is the setup of Caseware working papers. Okay. After you have finished running this setup of Caseware working papers on your desktop, you will be able to see the Caseware Working Papers 2020 software installed on your computer. If you don't have Caseware Working Papers 2020 installed, you need to go and download, go through your emails that I've seen and myself have sent you, go through your email and find the installation for Caseware Working Papers. Once you have installed Caseware Working Papers, the second installation is a file called full++ patch Audit International v22. Okay, so you install Caseware first, then you install Audit International version 22. And this will give you all the applications, all the software you need on your computer to run Caseware Working Papers. Okay. Also within the ICAB training folder, we have given you some documents. First of all, I had a request on the chat here saying, can we share the user manual? So under the Caseware Working Papers folder, there are 4 PDFs, practice set and user manual. So there is a Caseware Working Papers manual in here. The problem with these documents is that if I open them up, they are 500 pages. So a lot of these user manual items don't actually apply to you guys, or it's very, very, very extensive, very, very advanced. The idea of this training session is to show you the very basic that we need to start an audit all the way to the end of an audit. So that's Caseware Working Papers, as well as the Audit International template. I think the Audit International template is probably a better manual as well, but you can see we do have a lot of user manual operation guides available for you to read through if you like to, or my suggestion is to watch this video, come back to this training session so that I'm giving you real life examples and real life behaviors of what you should see in the software. Okay. Also in here, ABC Motor Company D 2020. Now, this is a Caseware file. Okay. This is a Caseware file that we have here. This file is a play file. This is actually a setup file, a file that has been set up with a lot of data, a lot of information, almost like a real life file. This file is for you to play around in. Sorry. Double checking. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so 6 months from now, 12 months from now, if you find a feature inside of Caseware working papers and you go, I wonder what does this do? And you want to play with that feature, but you don't want to do it on your live file, on your actual engagement file, you can always come back into ABC Motor Company and try that feature. So then you understand what happens when you use that feature, and then you can go and apply it onto your live file if you want to, okay? This file, if you break it, no big deal. I can simply delete the whole folder and then download a new one from that link that I have shared you. So you can keep downloading this file over and over and over again if you break it. So this is your play file. I call it a little sandbox that you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter because there is no consequences. If it's broken, you simply download a new one and you can just have a play file again. So that's the ABC Motor Company file that we have available in here. Okay. Another question I'm getting here is, are we able to install the software on more than one computer? So that's a very, very good question. So I'm going to now move into the actual software itself. After I have installed Caseware working papers, I'm going to open this up. Now, every one of you have been given licenses. Depending on your firm, some firms or most firms has purchased one license, and the other firms, a number of other firms have purchased a number of different licenses. The way licensing works is that it works on one computer at a time. It's intended for only one user on one computer. That is how one single license works. So if your firm has purchased 10 licenses, you can install it on 10 different computers and give that to 10 different users. Okay? The way licensing works here is I have Caseware working papers installed. I have come into licensing. I click on register now, and then I go next. I enter my authorization code, the code that I have emailed you. Everyone has a different authorization code. If you're not sure of what your authorization code is, please feel free to reach out to Obscene or myself, and we can find that record for you. Okay? You enter your authorization code, and it's really, really important for those of you who have multiple licenses. This next part is really important. Make sure you enter the name of the user of that computer. A common mistake everyone makes is that they go and put the IT's name. So when it comes to our record, it looks like IT has 10 copies of the same license. It's very hard for us to identify. The best suggestion here is to use the name of the person using that license so we can quickly identify them. Okay, after I've entered the name and my email address, I click next, register automatically over the internet, next, and it will then tell you how many days you have remaining. Okay, so then I can click finish here, and now my Caseware working papers license has been authorized, and I can use this for 288 days. At the end of 288 days, we will send you a new invoice. You pay that invoice. We will then give you a new code that will now last another 365 days. So what happens if this computer is really old and I want to retire the computer? It doesn't mean that you're going to lose the license, because below that, I have a revoke license option. Now, using the revoke license option in here, I can make an automatic revocation. I click next. I fill in all the information that you have available to you. If you don't have the information, you can leave it blank. But Caseware should also fill in a lot of this information for you already. It's automatic. Then I click next. And it says, it must be released. Do you want to continue? I say yes. And it says revocation successful. So I click finish. Now, this Caseware working papers is unlicensed. I can use this for 5 days. and it will say unregistered here. Okay, so I've used up my 5 days, and now I can continue without registering, which will not allow me to work on my files, or I can click register now to register my license. So if I was a staff that was leaving the company, if my computer had to be retired, you can revoke the license, basically send that license back up to the cloud. And then on the new computer, you click the register now again. Next, fill in the authorization code, the name and email, like we just did before. Next, and Caseware will now give me another 288 days. So if I go finish and then close Caseware, the next time I open up Caseware working papers again, there is no warning, no messages. It just says you are now working fine. Okay, so that is how licensing works. It works on one computer at a time. Now, if I was going on leave for 6 months and I want to take my computer with me, but I'm not using Caseware anymore, you can also revoke that license and transfer it to a temporary staff member. And then when you come back, you can transfer that license back to your computer. You can transfer your licenses from one computer to another, but that requires your own maintenance, okay? The license that you're getting is for your firm. So I have a question here. Do I need a new license number? No, you will reuse the same license number going forward. It's always that same license number that has been provided to you in that email that we sent you. Okay. So Caseware working papers, this has been installed. Now I'm going to take us through the version numbers, and I'll explain a little bit about versioning. Let's start from the beginning again. I have installed Caseware working papers. So to launch the software, I go to Caseware working papers 2020. I open the software. Okay, this is the welcome screen. From the welcome screen, I go to help, and you can see the version number here, version 2020-247. I'm not worried. Every one of you, if you have the software installed, you will have version 2020-247. Okay. At the end of each year, about December or maybe January next year, you will receive an email from Caseware. It will say, hey, here is the new update for Caseware Working Papers 2021. So make sure you install Caseware 2021 when the software comes out. We have a minimum of 1 release every year, guaranteed 1 release every year, at least. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, very, very rare. But minimum every year we will have 1 release for you, because we will need to give you the updates for the next year. Every year we will give you new features and new functions inside of Caseware working papers. Okay. On the other side, I also need you to click on the templates button here. Now, you won't have as many options as I do. I have some Audit Singapore. You will only have one option in here, Audit International. That's the only option that appears on your screen. Okay, under Audit International, click on Properties, and you will see the version number here as well, version 22. So there are 2 components to this. Remember, we installed Caseware working papers, then we installed Audit International. Audit International contains the audit work papers. So this year's version is version 22. At the end of the year or early next year, we will release version 23. So version 23 will contain all the ISA changes. Caseware working papers give you the new features. Audit International ensures that you meet the latest ISA requirements in your audit work papers. Okay. For those of you who are part of the IT department, if you're watching on this video as well, when you install Caseware software on your user's computer, make sure that you install both components, Caseware working papers and the Audit International template. Okay. I've seen we have a question here about needing a new license. I've mentioned that before. The same license will work. You don't need a new license number. Okay. Okay, so that's how we identify the version number. If you come into templates and your template screen is blank, there is no Audit International in here, it means you did not install Audit International. So then you need to go back to the folder and install the full plus patch Audit International v22 version. Okay. Another question here, Linux version. No, sorry, Caseware only runs on Windows. At the moment, we support either Windows 10 or Windows 8.1. Okay, most of you would be on Windows 10. Nobody really uses Windows 8.1. It's a Windows only application. We don't run on any other operating system. So those are all the housekeeping rules that you need to look at. Make sure you have installed the latest version. Make sure that you have the correct version installed, and how to identify all the different versions plus licensing. This only needs to be done once on the computer, and then after this, I don't have to check about this every day. Just through the installation, I know it's there. It will always remain there until you remove the software or the application. So now we're going to go through the entire process. Over the next 3 training sessions, we will go through how we start an audit all the way to the end, where we will finalize, lock down the audit file, and then roll forward into the next year. So I'm going to take you through the entire audit process here, okay? So today, we're going to assume a new company has reached out to us. Says, hey, Ken, I would like you to be my auditor. We sign the contract, we shake hands, and then we say, all right, we are now going to start the audit. So to begin with an audit file, we click the new button here, and we have to create a new file. Okay. Under the new file name, I'm going to give a name to the audit engagement file. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and just advise how you should take this training. Because there's a lot of you today, my suggestion is for this training session, this live training session, you watch the video, you watch what I'm presenting, and you take notes, okay? After this, you can watch the recording that we provide to you. And if you have 2 screens, you can follow along in the recording. You can follow along what I have done, because with the recording, you can pause and do the action on your screen and then continue the recording again. So for this session now, I would like to give you a lot of notes. You can write those down, and then you can reuse those notes later on when you re-follow the recording videos. Okay, so here, we need to give the file a name. Now, I have a few tips or a few instructions when it comes to naming the file. Okay, first of all, try and keep the name as short as possible. So my company, my client company is called ABC Motor Company A. Okay, so I give that the name. That's the client name. Then, really, really important, you also need to enter the year-end date, because every year you are going to have one Caseware file. So if you use Caseware for 5 years and you simply call them all ABC Motor Company A, it's very hard to differentiate which year that audit belongs to. So this is the 2021 audit. So I'm going to call this 2021. Alternatively, you can also put in the year-end date or whatever period end date it is. So if this was 31st of September 2021, actually, sorry, 30 September 2021, you can also type that date in there. That is one way for your team or your auditors to identify which year it belongs to. So for 2022, I will have 2022 in the date there. 2023, we'll say 2023. That way I can identify which year that audit belongs to. Okay. Next, the folder that we see here. Caseware is going to save the file under C, Program Files x86, Caseware Data. Now I'm going to pause here for a moment, and I'm going to take us to that location. So if I open up my folders, I go to C drive, Program Files x86. I look for the Caseware folder, and then I click on the Data folder. This is where all my Caseware files are going to be stored. Okay, I have ABC Motor Company B, ABC Motor Company, BTM Motor Company. I don't have ABC Motor Company A yet. So I have all these Caseware files sitting on my C drive. This is where my files are stored. We recommend that you keep this on your C drive as well. And because the data folder is where my files are stored, I also try and pin this to my quick access toolbar so that it's easily accessible for me. It's one of the most important folders on my computer because that's where all my audit files go. You can save the data files into any other folders other than C drive, but it's not recommended because when you take your computer with you, if you don't have that drive or if you left it somewhere else, you don't have access to your file. Okay, so that was a question there. Can we save the data file into any other C drive? I will show you how to change the drive later on. Okay, so here I'm going to keep my files in the data folder for now. And then I'm going to click Audit International. I'm going to choose Audit International because this file will be based on Audit International for here. Okay. Another question here, isn't the file saved on the cloud? Eric, we will talk about the cloud on day 4. At the moment, we're going to assume everything is saved on the C drive first. And then for those of you who have Caseware Cloud, come back on day 4 and we'll talk about cloud storage then. Okay, so Audit International, and then I click Create File. And if it asks you, do you wish to convert it from the previous version, just say yes. And a file will start running and creating. Now, because I've used this many, many times, it's not going to pop up for me. For those of you who are following at home at a later date or time, you may be asked at this point to enter a username. And so please fill in your name and fill in the initials, your name, the user's name and the user initials, because when you now go ahead and sign off work inside of Caseware, it would put your name and on the file itself. So where you don't see it on my screen because I've already done it a long time ago, it will only happen once. The first time you use Caseware, it will ask you, please give me your username and user ID. Go ahead and type your name and your user ID in there inside of Caseware. There is no passwords at the moment, so just put in the name so we know who is the user using that file. Okay, after you create a file for the very, very first time, Caseware is going to ask you to choose a profile. Okay, now I'm going to go through these profiles. It's really, really important. So we have 2 very basic or minimal profiles. These are not ISA compliant. If you're doing a very quick review, you don't have to follow ISA standards. You can choose minimal or basic. Very rare that's going to be the case. We're going to focus on these 3 profiles here today. We have 1 form and 1 form plus. Those are a more basic, a smaller set of work papers. I do not recommend that you use this in the first 12 months, okay? For the first 12 months of using Caseware, I suggest we only use the core profile. The core profile includes all available features and all documents included in the International Toolkit based on the IFAC SME guide. This is going to be the majority. This is going to be the majority of your engagements. Okay, it's going to give you everything you need to perform your audit. Now, after 12 months, as you become more familiar with the work papers inside of Caseware, more familiar with the features, you can then choose to go with one form or one form plus, which provides you less features and less content, so there is less work required, but more reliant on the user's judgment. If I am a brand new auditor and I say, I don't know what to do inside this audit, Core will give you all the guidance you need. If I'm a very, very experienced auditor and says, I just want somewhere where I can record all the information, I can just type it in myself. I don't need Caseware to tell me what to do. One form and one form plus may be suitable for you. Okay, but because you're inexperienced in using Caseware for now, in the first 12 months, please use the core profile. And then in the future, you can revert back to a one form or one form plus profile. Today, I'm going to go with the core profile. And then at the end, hopefully on day 3, I can show you what the one form plus profile looks like. All 3 of these profiles follow the ISA requirements. All 3 of these meet the ISA requirements. Okay, so I'm going to choose the core profile here, and then I'm going to click OK. And now Caseware is collecting the file and setting up the file for us. Remember, we haven't given Caseware any information just yet. All it knows is the file name. That's it. It doesn't even know who the person is. All it says is ABC Motor Company A. So it's going to go through and create the file for me, and then it's going to launch a few screens here. First, you see the engagement property screen. And then on the other side, another document that opened is our case view document. So you have Caseware working papers over here, ABC Motor Company A. This is what we're looking at. And then on the other side, there is a case view icon down here at the bottom. And that is our document, one of the work papers that we need to first complete, called the optimizer checklist. Now, in real life, this is where you go straight into your audit. You start answering questions, you start filling in information. But for training purposes, I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to take you through Caseware a little bit. Now, before we do that, there is also another question. Can we download the software in Windows-based server? Kazi, no. Caseware is a computer, single computer software. It will not work on your server. Okay, you will get a warning if you try and install it on the server that it will not work. Okay, so this is my Caseware file. Let's talk you through some of the features, some of the user interface so that we're all used to it. When you first open up Caseware or when you first create a Caseware file, you are taken to the digital dashboard. This dashboard takes you through step by step what needs to happen in an audit. So you can see complete engagement properties, that screen that I just closed. Complete optimizer, that's document that I just closed. Import your trial balance, review your trial balance, assign mapping number. Then we can begin the engagement work. So this is the setup of my file. Once I finish all the setup, I come into the workflow, and then you see, we guide you through planning and risk assessment, do your client acceptance, do your overall audit strategy, meetings and discussions, budgeting, risk assessment, risk response. Within your asset, you need to test and document all your tests for property, plant, equipment, investment property, intangibles, asset, goodwill, all of the asset, all of the equity and liability sections, all your income statement items, general audit procedures, any misstatements, engagement wrap up. We take you through step by step, do this, do that, and you start from the top and you work your way down the list, okay? In here, we also have the document manager. Now, the document manager is a bit like your Windows screen. We have a number of different folders, and within these folders, we have the documents that we talked about. So we start with the file setup, the optimizer checklist that was just opened. It's stored in your document folder here, okay? You can see the folders, the way it works. Planning starts by going into the planning section, client acceptance and continuance. So for the client acceptance and continuance section, these are all the documents that you need to complete. I'm not going to complete them yet because you can see there are some double ups. There are a lot of documents in here that I need to work through. Okay, overall audit strategy. This is where you document your overall audit strategy. This is where you prepare the risk assessment. In these documents, you have specific procedures, guides, step-by-step guides. This is what you do. This is what you do. Those will take you through and all of them. Okay. So in here, we can also drag and drop documents into my file. So if I go into the ICAB training folder, I have some external document exercise in here. I have some PDF, I have Word document, I have Excel documents. I can drag and drop those documents in here and it will be saved. So that becomes a PDF, okay? Another question here, there are some double up documents in here. Very, very good question. So that's why we're not actually working on this document first, because when we go through the optimizer, it will start removing up these double documents. Depending on what's happening in your optimizer, we will customize the audit for you and remove the unnecessary documents. So we're not actually completing anything. I'm just taking you through a walkthrough of the whole software interface for now. Okay, so you can download documents, you can save documents. From now on, your audit lives inside this Caseware file. It doesn't live on a different folder. It doesn't live on a different server. It doesn't live anywhere else except for this screen here. So if a reviewer comes and say, hey, can you please give me the ABC Motor Company audit? You can take this file and say, here, it's all here. Okay, you don't have to go to one folder, pick up the documents. You don't have to go to a filing cabinet, pull out some different documents. You don't have to look at your email, pick up something else and collect them together. This is the collection point for everything related to this audit. It should all be filed in this Caseware file here. Okay, so that is the interface. We're not talking about the audit yet. This is just the interface. Now, how do I close Caseware? Through the X button at the top here, I can simply just close down Caseware, or I can go File, Exit, and that would close the Caseware software from my computer. How do I reopen a file? Let's say this is tomorrow. I now come back into work. I say, oh, I want to use that Caseware file I set up yesterday. Under Caseware Working Papers 2020, I open up the file. I can go to my recent file list. You can see from the recent file list, ABC Motor Company A. I can double click this to open the file for me. Okay. If this is the file that I'm using very, very all the time, I can also click on the pin button here, and that would pin the file to the very top of my screen. So if I know I'm working on this engagement for the next 2 weeks, I can put it at the very top like a pin, and that would always stay there. When I'm done, I remove the pin, and it would just get dropped down the list as I open other files until it disappears off this list here. Okay, so from your recent file list, you can double click to open the file. If it doesn't appear on the recent file list, what happens if I cannot find it on this list? You can go to Computer. The default folder is C drive, Program Files, Caseware, Data. I can click on that, or I can click on Browse. And through the Browse button, I can go to my C drive, Program Files x86, Caseware, Data, and there is my file there. Double click. There is only one file here called Caseware file. I click Open, and this will open up the audit file for me. That is how I get back into that file the next day or another time. Let's pause here for a moment. Afseen, can you unmute yourself and let me know what's happening? Sorry, Afseen, I can't hear you if you're speaking. Hi, Yasin. Hi, everyone. Really sorry about this. We need to have a few minute break, a break for a few minutes. A new link is being shared on the chat box. Can you please look out for this new link? And we would like to transfer this session to a different Zoom session. So please look out on your new link. And we will join very quickly in the new session, and we'll begin in about 5 to 10 minutes time, okay? I'm just copying a few of your questions here, and I will answer those questions in the new session once we have re-established that new connection.
Ken, I have already shared the new link. Everybody, can you please join in the new link?
Please copy that link onto a notepad first, and then before you quit this session, because if you quit this session, you're going to lose that link.
Also, I have
Please
updated
copy.
it on the mail, so you can.
Okay, so see everyone in that new session. Please exit this and then join the new link that is shared in the chat. Copy it onto a notepad and then exit the session and then open the link on your browser again. Sorry about this, everyone.